Hi, thanks very much for clicking on the video link. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin with Marketing Resolution, but this is another in the series of idle chat videos for the American Bar Association Section for Dispute Resolution. Today, my guest is smack dab in the middle of the US, Indianapolis. This is Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hello, good to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you could join me for an idle chat. So Dan, I know that you've seen several of the idle chat videos that I've recorded previously, but just so you know, this year, I've added a bunch more questions. The stack has grown. Surprises are possible.
Okay, we'll see.
Just never know. All right, cards shuffled. Dan, first question out of the gate, very divisive. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. We would all understand. Does pizza deserve pineapple, or should pineapple rather be on pizza?
First of all, I do love pineapple, but I just don't see it on pizza. Just not something that if a lot of pieces were laid out at a party and that was one selection of many, I would pass on that one. So yeah.
Fair enough. What's the best pizza?
Oh, I generally like, pepperoni and sausage, maybe mushroom. Yeah.
Good choice. Good choice. And Chicago deep dish versus New York?
I'll say yes. If it's pizza, I like it. Yeah.
Not like it's ever going to really be wrong.
Right, exactly.
Pizza. All right. Let's see. Next card. Would you rather speak all human languages or speak with animals?
That's such a tough question. I'm tempted to say speak with animals, but actually in terms of getting around the world and day to day, probably all languages would probably be my just a little bit over the top over the animal connection.
Yeah. That one is hard. I mean, that's a real 50-50, right? All right, Dan, next card. What profession other than ADR would you like to attempt?
Well, I think of being a teacher, so I think I am that anyway. But I mean, if you didn't do any conflict resolution, but could teach, impart knowledge, share, and again, I think of that broadly. So it's not just in the classroom, but I think of that in terms of just being able to communicate and share and help others learn. So that's an easy one for me.
That was kind of a layup shot. I'm going to make them harder from now on.
Okay.
Let's see. Dan, does the person who flies in the middle seat get the armrest to the left, the armrest to the right, or both armrests?
Not both. I guess I'm thinking the person in the aisle has that armrest. So maybe just share the armrest to their left, I guess, to the right. Person in the middle gets the right armrest. I'll go with that one.
Okay. There's no right answer.
Right.
Of course, you're absolutely correct, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. Do you, Dan, happen to remember the first concert that you ever attended?
Well, so here's the thing. I was never a band, group kind of concert goer. So when I think concert, it was more the orchestra. So it would be in that context. I don't quite remember, but certainly occasionally I've been even in our own Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. So that's sort of my orientation. So I don't have a recall of what's typical of a concert in terms of going to see a group. So yeah.
Music is good. Just experiencing music is good. All right. Dan, do you eat food that is past its expiration date if it still smells and looks fine?
Yes. That is typically a sell-by date. So it's not expiration date, but it just depends. Obviously, if it just really smells horrible, and I will smell it, I will, do those sort of things, but I don't worry too much about it, and really, maybe I'm taking a risk, but I will do that, yes. Yeah.
Dan, inquiring minds want to know, ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup. No, I do like mustard in certain places, but given a choice, it would be ketchup. Yeah.
Yeah, like desert island kind of scenario, and you can
Right.
only take one bottle.
Give me the ketchup. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Leave the
All
mustard
right.
behind. Those sort of things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Next, let's see. Next card. What is the coolest animal that you've seen in the wild?
Well, so you said in the wild. So the coolest animal of all is the giraffe. But I've not seen it in the wild, certainly at zoos and things like that. You know, I think cool animals in terms of just, it's weird that the giraffe is so graceful when it runs, because it looks like such an awkward animal. So if you want to talk about it in the wild, then of course I think it's graceful to see deer, you know, and those sort of things. I just think that's the grace of seeing them run and jump and things like that. So in the wild, that would be it, but all time would be the giraffe. So, yeah.
And that is a pretty cool animal. I will agree with you, sir. Yeah. Dan, is there any song that you feel compelled to sing along to, even if you don't know all the words?
You know, it'll come to me after this recording. You know, I know that, so it's quite different response to the question, but I've been asked occasionally a song I'd recommend, just as far as just a motivating song, whatever. And so the last time I was asked it, you know, put on a playlist. A song I really love is "What a Wonderful World," Louis Armstrong. And so I just think that says a whole lot. So, and I don't think I know all the words, but I'm also not sure that I always think of that to hum it. But I just think that's a wonderful song, and it just says a lot about how, you know, it is a wonderful world. It's just maybe what we do to it and how we treat each other that sometimes is questionable. So, yeah.
Sure. I don't know that I know all the words, but I think with Satchmo singing in my ear, I can follow along with, you know, some of the cues that he provides.
Right. Yeah. It's just, and he's got such a unique voice. So, yeah.
Really iconic.
Yeah.
Dan, what is the most amazing physical feat you've ever accomplished?
I just think it's an amazing physical feat sometimes to wake up in the morning, but that's probably not the most amazing. I'd have to say, again, this has to go with childhood, you know, when I was more able, climbing a tree. And I think probably I gave my mother fits because there's a tree in the backyard. I climbed it high, sat up there for a while, looked over the houses and things like that. Real memories of that. Never did fall, never did have a major issue of that, fairly limber. So I'd probably look at that, but don't ask me to do that today.
Fair enough. Climbing trees is magical. Getting that different perspective on the world. There's just something about it that is, you know, really amazing. Dan, can you think of something that is fine in small numbers, but terrifying in large numbers?
Probably wasps. Yeah. You know, occasionally a wasp makes it into the house, and it seems like by the time they make it, they're exhausted, and so they're relatively easy to catch or to, well, put an end to. But a whole swarm or a wasp hive in my house, no thanks. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, hard pass.
Right.
Dan, do you like things to be carefully planned, or do you prefer to sort of go with the flow?
I'll say yes to that as well. It probably, you know, lawyer response. It depends. You know, I think that, you know, it comes to presentations, comes to something where I have to appear. Some level of prep, of course, is important. But, you know, it's kind of guarded because, you know, you also have to be natural. So the question is how much preparation. But I'm probably would lean more that to go with the flow, to be honest. And I envy people who can be totally go with the flow. So maybe I can learn more with that. So, yeah.
I think maybe the better prepared one is, the easier it is to go with the flow.
That's true. The more confident you know your stuff. And so again, I experience that as well. But you know, sometimes you just have I done enough, and all the nervousness and all that. Of course, once you get into it, it's like, oh, this is fine. But there's those issues in terms of just, have I done enough prep? Yeah.
I think that's right. I think that's exactly right. Let's see. Dan, I know that you're in academics. Do you happen to have a favorite word?
Favorite word? I'll just say, I don't know if it's favorite word. I'll just say peace.
Peace as in a pie, or peace as in global?
In the world, yes.
Peace.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a favorite word, but it comes to mind. If I had more words, I like conflict resolution, related to ADR kind of issues. But I'll just say peace.
Good word.
Yeah, and then how, what we can do to achieve that on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Good word. I like that one. Dan, what did you eat for breakfast today?
My normal is oatmeal and blueberries, brown sugar, those kind of things, some walnuts usually. Yeah, that's the go-to for my wife and myself every day. So, yeah.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
Dan, do you play any musical instruments?
I did, and I was in percussion, and in high school and college, also marching band, snare drum, those sort of things. Interesting because I've actually thought at some point going back to that. It's been years, and I'm always tapping and things like that. So I think that's sort of ingrained in me. But I don't know, I have this thought of maybe when I get a new house, maybe I'll have a soundproof booth in it, and I'll get back to the drum set, the earphones, and just go crazy there. But that was my musical selection growing up in terms of what I played. Yeah.
Love it. I like that one. I think I like that one because it's a maybe more physical than some of the others.
Right. And when I say I thought of this thought I have is actually for even exercise, is to get really aggressive with that drum set. But it's been years, and I probably need to pick it back up. So, yeah.
Well, absolutely. Why not? That should be the gift you give yourself for 2023.
Maybe you've challenged me. I'll have to think about that. Yeah.
All right. I'll call you back in a year and we'll see if you got your drum set put together.
Yep. But I need the soundproof booth too, and I don't know right now if I can get that. But
so Dan, as my last question, let me ask you the same question I ask all of my guests, and that is, what do you love most about the resolution industry?
Well, so very quick background. I mean, my background in terms of I am a mediator, particularly in the workplace, but also I do a lot of training and education around that. So, and that's broad. I mean, I teach lawyers and law students. I teach HR professionals in terms of workplace mediation. But in both contexts, I would put learning, that we have an opportunity to learn. It's just amazing when I see, particularly law students, when I do a mediation practice course, just their eyes open up in terms of different things they can do, or a new view of their legal career that up to that point have been my advocacy. But even when I mediate, I always think in terms of workplace mediation is we're often not resolving things today. We're at least learning about each other and maybe getting skills and understanding each other as we leave to get back to work. And so in a lot of work I do is internally in my institution at Indiana University. So when I look at that situation, sometimes I hear back. It seems like maybe the mediation didn't go necessarily very well, but a month, 2 months, a half year later, I'm hearing they're picking up skills, doing things, and they're collaborating because they weren't ready necessarily to resolve things now, but it's what they learned to move forward to be effective and address things down the road. So I don't like the idea of mediation just being, okay, we're done and we've got a nice settlement and go on your life. I like it where people can pick things up and on their own without needing me in the future to do some things moving forward because they've learned some things. And so I think that's the key thing that I really love when I see that through my mediation and through my teaching and training. So
it really is lovely, but also the skills that you teach people, they don't just use that at their office. They don't just use that in their law firm. These are skills that once we've acquired them, we can use with the other significant humans in our lives, our neighbors, fellow congregants, people online at the supermarkets. These are skills that you're teaching people or giving to people that they can put into action in so many different ways. It really is just an amazing gift of information.
Yeah, and I get that feedback from people I train as well. And just reinforcing listening alone. I mean, just the application is like, I haven't thought that deeply about listening, and maybe I should. A really undervalued skill. So that alone, in terms of just where students have papers they do reflecting on the experiences from the class, and they share this kind of that kind of perspective as well. It's like, I saw this not just in terms of my career, but what I can do in my personal life, my family life. It's changed things, and so it's really gratifying to play a small part in that to help them realize that. Yeah.
Or in your case, probably a large part.
Well, okay, sure.
All right, Dan, thanks so much. I do really appreciate your time. I think, the people who take your course, what a fantastic experience.
Well, thank you, Natalie. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you're doing to support mediators around with this opportunity. I really enjoyed this. Enjoyed the conversation.
I'm so glad. Yeah, absolutely. The resolution industry, I love it heart and soul. This is, this is my passion. So it's always fun to meet people that share that kind of excitement.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.